episode of How to Learn Excel through a live project. In the previous episodes, we covered what is required for us to start developing our expense tracking application. And we are supposed to start our project from today. But I have been thinking twice whether we should start that development project session right away or are we missing something. When I was thinking more, I realized that we are missing one of the important exercise. That is, we don't have a plan of how we are going to proceed with this particular learning exercise. Though I have a plan for myself, I thought that it is better if you all also aware of our plan or a roadmap which we need to use so that we go step by step and cover everything of what we can learn in Excel. So to help everyone, including me and you, I created a small presentation in which I have drawn the roadmap and included our learning objective. So, why don't we spend some time today to go through that presentation and let's all be clear about the roadmap and how we are going to learn and implement that in our expense tracking application. So, my apologies for not starting the session from today. Instead, the one day which we are going to spend more will be more useful for everyone to have a clear understanding of our roadmap. Let's jump directly to the presentation and learn more. I hope you all had an opportunity to go through our product demo, which we have done in one of our previous episode, to know what we are going to build as part of the expense tracking application. So, to just give you an overview about what that expense tracking application is, it is a simple Excel based application in which, for a household, you can define the budget and your list of expense headers in which you will be normally making the expenses, and then you can track all your expenses in a simple Excel sheet by which the Excel sheet will automatically calculate your monthly expenses and compare it with your budget and tell very clearly whether you are exceeding the budget for that month or you are within that budget. In addition to tracking your expenses against your planned expense header, you can also track it based on your bank account or the payment mode, and you can define the monthly expense limit and you can track against the target. In addition to that, this Excel application will also provide you simple analytics with pivot tables, pivot charts, as well as normal graphs. So these are all the things to start with we have done in our Excel application. So as we said earlier, we will be enhancing this application to provide more feature, and the objective is not only to build this application but for every one of us to learn all the features available in Excel. To help achieve this goal, we have created a simple roadmap, or we call it as our learning path, in which we have 11 different milestones. In each and every milestones, we will try to learn something and implement the same in our application and build a fully functional Excel application which you can use it for your personal use too. Okay. Now let us go one by one to our learning path. Okay. So to start with, we will be defining a payment mode for your or a bank details. Then proceed with that. We will be defining the expense group. So these are all maybe looking like simple things, but the intention is, as part of this every milestone, we will be learning the concepts of Excel. Okay. Then we'll be creating another one called expense heads. Then we will be defining the budget against every expense head or the expense group. So it will be followed with our daily expense tracking entry sheet, and Then we will implement features like how to track your monthly expenses, preceded by budget control. We have seen in our Excel sheet, it says with the red color if you are exceeding the budget. And we can even set the limitation, like when you are exceeding the budget, it can give you an alert. So those kind of feature also we can implement. Then we'll go ahead with how we can do the analysis using the pivot chart, the graphs, what if analysis, etc. Then we will also learn about how to print your Excel sheet as a report. And for advanced learners, even for the beginners, you will learn how to use the VBAs, that is Visual Basic for Application, for creating simple macros as well as complex functions which you can implement in your Excel application. So the last one is not purely Excel, but it is part of a Power Platform tool in which we will be learning about how you can use Power Automate for desktop. In this part, we'll be learning how to use Power Automate for desktop and do simple automation, and which you can then our next course anyhow we will be continuing on power automation, be acting as a foundation for you to learn how a power platform works. Let us go further about what we are going to learn in every milestone. So let's go deep and see what we are going to cover in every milestone. So the first milestone is the payment mode, and if you see what is our learning objective in this particular module, is we will be creating a simple table, and we'll format a table, format numbers, and we also learn about how to use the flash fill for serial numbers, dates, etc. And we will also be using simple formulas. So you might have seen how to use simple formulas in our session on basics, but since it is a complete learning course, we will cover that once again. In the next milestone, even though the milestone is expense group, our learning objective will be how to format the data as a table. There is a difference between using a table as well as formatting as a table. We'll see what it is. And if you are defining it as a table, then you can name the table and you can refer it through that name. We'll see how we can do that. And other features of table, like how to create sums, how to add average, and how to use the column name. So many things you will learn in that. And once you define the table, how to resize the table, how to add another column to the table, or how to define more number of rows to the table, everything we will learn. And we know about a simple copy and paste. In Excel, the paste is having so many other features, like how to paste it as a, a picture, or how to paste a formula. Many things are there. We'll be learning one by one along with this milestone. And there is a feature, suppose you are having a row of data in which one or two data are duplicate. So Excel is having a feature to identify the duplicates and delete it. So we'll learn about that. Then in the third milestone, as part of the definition of expense heads, we will be learning about the data validation and how to validate numbers, date, text length. Many things are there. We will learn about it. And as part of the data validation, you can define an input text. How to define it, we will see. And if you have defined a validation for a cell, the user is adding something which cannot be validated, you can pop up an error message too. We'll learn about it. And yet another beautiful feature of data validation is a lookup. So you can define a list and user can select only from that list. So we'll see how to use it. What's in store for us in milestone 4? So the milestone 4 will be creating the budget, or we will be defining the budget. So, in that, along with defining the budget, We'll be also learning simple string manipulation, which may be required for using a formula in our budget tracking, because like we are starting the Excel, we cannot use very complex applications. So we'll be breaking down the problem into simpler, manageable way. So for that, we'll be using some string manipulation functions, and we'll be also defining how to use your currency according to your country specific currency, how we can use. And we'll learn a little bit about how to work with dates. So even though date is coming with DD, YY, or DD and month and year, actually date is a number. So we'll learn about it and how we will add two different dates, and how to find the difference between two dates. Many things we'll learn as part of working with dates. Same thing with date difference, we can look at it, all those things. So let us move to the fifth milestone. The fifth milestone is expense entry, and in that when we are learning the expense entry, we will once again work with dates, because date is a big area where there are so many things we can do. We'll learn further, we may spill over to the next session. And how to use lookup. Lookup may be a new concept for beginners, but it is one of the very essential and one of the very useful feature. We will learn about it. How to use lookup, for vertical lookup called VLOOKUP, and horizontal lookup called HLOOKUP, and how to use formulas inside the lookup, and how to do the custom formatting and grouping of rows, columns, and creating subtotals, many things. And one important thing is we'll learn how to use the if condition inside the formula. Let's move on. As part of the sixth milestone, here we'll be using more formulas and other things. So because we are going to track the monthly expenses, but we learned some basics of the formulas in our earlier sessions, so that will be very useful for us. So once again, we'll be using the string functions. There are a few cases where you may need to use different string functions. You'll be learning in it. Okay, and we will go with complex formulas, like how to use countif, sumif, many things are there. We will see the thing, we are not limiting ourselves only to the formulas which are required for defining a monthly tracking of expenses, but we are utilizing it to learn as much as possible. And so far in our basic, we might have seen a reference, a relative reference, and absolute reference, but in all those things, we might have used only a cell which is there in the same worksheet. But Excel can handle if the data is there in another worksheet or even in another workbook. So all those things we will learn. And when you are using the formula, there are always, we need to know how the formula works. There are features available for testing your formulas. There are many things, but one feature is watch window. We'll look at the other features also, but here in this session, we'll be using the watch window, how to use it. Okay. We'll be proceeding with the budget control, where we'll learn something about conditional formatting. You might have noticed in our Excel application demo that if the expense is going beyond the budgeted value, it is showing as red. So they are all done using conditional formatting. We'll learn how to implement it. You can implement your conditional formatting for your own Excel sheet. And we'll also learn about sum ifs with complex formula, because we have to learn step by step. First, we will learn with simple formulas, then progressively we'll learn about how to use complex formulas easily. And we will also learn about pivot table, how to create a pivot table and how to manage it. And name manager, I don't want to confuse you all at this point of time, but naming a cell or naming a range is one of the very useful feature. We'll learn about it. And as we said about the watch window, when we are talking about the watch window, we said about we need to know how your formula works. So The formula auditing is the feature which will give you more power to you to know and debug how your formula works. Any problem is there, you can easily identify what is the problem in your formula and you will be able to rectify it. Okay, now we are moving to analysis. So far we learned about how to create a Excel workbook, how to insert, how to implement controls on entering correct data, how to use formulas to calculate, how to format it conditionally. Everything we have learned. Now it is time for us to do some analytics. So again, we will be learning about the pivot table in detail, and we'll learn about how to create graphs. We'll go step by step how to use simple graphs to complex graphs, and we will also learn about pivot chart. And there is a feature called what if analysis. We'll learn more about it. Okay, and then comparing to all other what you learned, this is a simple thing. So we'll learn about how to do the page layout, how to organize it, how to implement a header and footer to your Excel sheet when it is getting printed, and how to print it to the PDF. Everything is simple as far as this milestone is concerned. You will love it. The last thing may be very interesting. You can publish your Excel sheet as a website. We'll learn about it. Okay. Okay. Now a little bit of complex part comes. So with VBA, that is Visual Basic for application, you can do more. See, Excel can work as a complete programming language. So how a developer is developing his application using C Sharp or ASP.NET or Java, everything, you can create application using Excel. So we will learn little bit about how to create a macro in a simple way. How to, you can even record a macro. We'll see how to record a macro, how to write simple functions using Visual Basic, and how to use it. One more thing we need to note is once you are having a Visual Basic based macro or the code created, your Excel should not be saved as a simple XLSX file, but it has to be macro enabled. And there are some security features also. So when you're using a macro enabled workbook, Excel will check for the security also. These are all the things we will learn in it. And we will also learn about the calculation options. That is, like if you are writing something in Excel, using a simple formula or using a BBA or anything, you can control when the formula need to be calculated, whether it need to be calculated immediately or whether it need to be calculated only after you press some button. Let us look at it when we are going through this. And finally, we'll be learning about the foundation of automation. So we will be using the Power Automate for desktop. We'll have a foundation, then we'll continue with a separate course for Power Automation. Okay, hope you are having a clear picture of how we are going to learn. And one more thing we need to note, even though we have 11 milestone, it doesn't mean that we'll be covering everything in 11 episodes. So this is only a milestone to achieve. Few milestones may be completed in one session, few may need more. So, accordingly, we will structure our course. Once again, thank you very much. And again, I am requesting you all to support us by subscribing to the channel and liking the channel, and above all, providing your feedback through comments. And I will be answering personally to all the comments you are adding to this, be it a doubt or be it a suggestion or anything, or even if you don't like, please feel free to comment. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode. Without fail, we'll start the development.